Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. This is chamomile tea today. Very exciting. Um, so I have Eric sitting next to me. Min is next to me on the other side, but Eric is next to me. And he has spent a lot of the past half an hour or so screaming. So I will try to placate him by petting him. Um, but I don't know how much of this video we're going to get through without a lot of yelling going on. So if there are cat noises, it's Eric's fault. Um, Sorry, bump the table again. Um, so, Phoebe, you look like you had a good time, other than just being exhausted at this point. Um, I also recently slept through basically a whole day, so I feel you on that. I I hope I hope you get like kind of recalibrated, and feel better. You seem really tired still. Um, Let me see. Okay, what have I got here? Where am I going? Um, I'm so distracted by all the cats. Um, so your video of the Eiffel Tower was really neat. And why are you all like bothering me now? You've all been sitting here behaving yourselves this whole time, and now that I've started filming, now you're bothering me. I see how it is. Sorry. Um, so your video was neat. I'm glad that you showed us. Um, and you said that like you didn't like video a lot, really, and like that makes sense to me because I never remembered to take videos of things or pictures of things. I mean, like when we met up and like I did not take a single picture the entire time. um, I never remember to do that stuff like ever. I'm I'm just not good at it. So like it completely makes sense to me that you would be too busy doing whatever you're doing and just would not like think of it or would just not have the energy or the concentration to deal with it or whatever, especially if you're jet lagged. Um, but yeah, like that makes sense to me. Let me see what I've got written down here. Oh, you were talking about movies and like not remembering them once you have finished watching them. And yes, I also have heard that that's an ADHD thing. Um, Something about the way that the memory retrieval process works in ADHD brains makes it really difficult to pull out details like that, apparently. Hi, Whimsy. Another cat. Um, he's going to open the door too, because he can open the door by himself if it's like ajar. He can't reach the doorknob, but um, some of the cats need me to open the door for them, even if it's like not latched. Whimsy can open it himself. So here in a minute, he's going to open it, and I'm going to have to go over there and close it again. Um, what else? Oh, school language programs. Yeah, like I am impressed that you remembered any words at all, frankly, because like I didn't take any language classes in school because I was my my class was the last class in like the last year in the state, I believe, um, where we were not required in order to like graduate high school. We were not required to have language credits, and the year behind us was. And so we did have, technically speaking, we technically had language classes available to us, but it was like there would be one teacher that was a language teacher, and if you wanted to take a language class, you just had to take whatever that particular teacher taught. And then when that teacher retired and they hired a different language teacher who spoke a different language, like that was the only one. So, like when I was a freshman in high school, the only language class that we had available was German. And she was also the English teacher, but she spoke German, and so she taught a German class. And then she retired at the end of that year. And they hired a new teacher to replace her, new English teacher, but she spoke Spanish. And so then after that, you could just take Spanish if you wanted a language class. And there goes the door. Hold on a minute. I have latched it. Which means there's going to be a lot of yelling going on when the next cat wants to go out. Um, so so there was just Spanish after that, and like I did not take any of the language classes in high school because like I was not particularly interested in either German or Spanish at that point. A friend of mine took Spanish, 2 years of Spanish because that's all there was. There was Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. And like by the time she made it out of Spanish 2, like she could like barely construct a sentence. I, I feel like school language classes in the US are generally not great. Um, I did theoretically, when I was in middle school, there was a little old lady in town that decided, it was when they were just starting to talk about making it mandatory for students to have language classes at school. And there was this little old lady in town who was apparently in her youth had been a traveler and like kind of an intellectual, and she spoke a couple languages. I don't really know which languages she spoke, but she spoke several apparently, or had spoken several. I don't think she had used them a lot. I can't imagine where she would have used them around here. But for some reason, she became really enthused about the idea that she was going to give after school Spanish lessons to children like who wanted to come, basically. And so I somehow got dragged into participating in that. Although, again, as I say, at that point I had zero interest in Spanish, but I got dragged into participating in it by some of my friends. And like, it didn't last a long time. I think it just was like one summer, part of one summer or something. Um, I think after that she just found it too difficult. She was very, very old and she was in very fragile health. So I think I think it just got to be too much for her. But also like I think I think maybe she realized that we were not really learning that much. Partly because her approach was very, very old-fashioned, but also not that helpful. Like her her big thing was we had one book that was like an easy reader Spanish sort of thing that we would just sort of pass around and everybody would read bits from it. And her only other like approach for teaching us things was that she would present us at the beginning of each class with a typed list of Spanish words. And that would be our vocabulary list for the day. We did this once a week. And the thing was, it was just a list of Spanish words. We had no dictionaries, we had no anything. It was just a list of Spanish words. And she would just tell us, well, try to figure out what it is. And we'd be like, we have no context. Like, sure, sometimes you can guess from the word what it is in English, but sometimes you cannot. And we had no way to like find out. It's before the internet. It wasn't like you could just go look it up somewhere. We didn't have any like reference material, so we would just be handed a sheet of paper with some words on it in a language we didn't speak, and then somehow she thought that we would like, I don't know, we would just understand and absorb, but we had no context for these words, so like I don't know where she thought we were going to understand them from. Um, at the end of our period of study, she wrote like a little like short play, and we had to like we were all assigned parts and we had to put on this little like skit thing, this little short play. It wasn't good. Um, so that was my only school era experience, and as you can imagine, it was not useful for me in learning to speak Spanish or anything else. Um, One of my other friends and I did, for some reason, ask her if she would teach us French at the same time, and she sort of agreed, but it lasted even less time and went even less well. So yeah, it was an experience all the way around. Um, yeah, other than that, I didn't have any sort of like school age language experience at all. I have never taken an actual language class. Um, but also none of the language classes that I ever would have had access to were useful. I realize that sounds maybe harsh, but unfortunately that is how it was. Um, but like I went to school in, the middle of nowhere, like rural Oregon in the 90s. So okay, I have really gotten off track here. Like, like we were talking about, like you sometimes you think you're gonna talk about one thing in the video and then you like go way off in the weeds somewhere, and this is what happens. Um, when I started, like when we first started doing this channel, like I used to leave myself blocks of time, like literally like 4 hours. I would make sure I had at least 4 hours if I wanted to make a video because I didn't necessarily need all 4 hours, but I would make sure I left myself a block of time because, first of all, like I don't know if you will remember, but I had like a external webcam and it had autofocus on it that there was no way to turn the autofocus off. So every time I would like move, even like a little bit, like move my head or something, the autofocus would go in and out, and I would have to stop and wait for it to reposition itself and then like try to hold really still while I talked. Um, and so that took a lot of time because it was like I couldn't just leave the autofocus in because it was so distracting because it was really like a big autofocus. Um, and so I'd have to hold really still and then like even holding still, like there would be enough movement sometimes that I would have to like retake over and over again until I got one where there was no autofocus or I could at least cut out the autofocus. Um, and then also, I know, hi Eric. And then also, like, I didn't really know how to use the editing software, and so that took a long time, and editing just took forever. And also, there was the problem that I would just get wildly off topic and end up like talking and talking about something that I would just end up cutting out later on. or or there would be large gaps where like I was trying to like, you know, load what my next topic was going to be, and then I would have to cut out the gaps. So yeah, that's why it would took like it was important for me to leave myself a block of time that was very large. Um, I didn't often use the entire 4 hours, but I did sometimes. Um, yeah, yeah. You said like having a messy brain. Yes, mm, yes. But I mean, it's good because like I think it works well for the aesthetic that we have generated on this channel. Um, Works out pretty well. I liked your octopus pin, by the way. It reminded me of those like four color pens that they used to have everywhere when I was a kid. I'm sure they still make them. I haven't seen them in a long time. But yeah, it was similar to those, except an octopus, which is much better. Um, Excuse me, sir. Okay, so I have been talking for almost 15 minutes. Minerva, madam, sorry about my leaping cat. That was a good jump, though. That was a really good one. I saw that. Min's not much of a jumper. She's never been great at jumping, but she just jumped over Eric to get onto the thing. So that's a very big jump. It's only about that high, but like it's a very big jump for Min. So yay, applause. Um, okay, I've been talking for like 15 minutes and I've gotten wildly off track. I mean, in as much as I ever had a track. So um, yes, I think that I have gone through whatever's on my notes. I mean, I probably missed a bunch of stuff that I was going to say because I got distracted, but that's fine. It'll all get in there eventually, probably, at some point. Um, so yes, I think I've got everything. So I guess I'm done here. I love you all very much. Uh, Phoebe, I hope that you had a really good trip and skipping Thanksgiving, good idea. Very smart. Um, and I will see you all next week. Don't forget to be awesome.